school programs. We are not talking about Running Start tonight, as that's a completely different topic, but we will be hearing from several wonderful resources to give you information on our 2-year offerings that are local and near our area. I just wanted to let you know that the chat is open for you. So if at any time you have a question or a concern, or even if you need something repeated, please type it there. All of us can see the chat and we'll be able to get to you. But with that said, I want to go ahead and spend all of our time focused on our presenters, as in our first session, we ran right up to the time. So with that, I'm going to start with Ramon. Ramon, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and what you're doing? Oh, real quick, everyone, just so you know, in case you can't see, we are recording this session. Just wanted to make sure that you are aware of that. So with that, Ramon, go ahead.
Thank you so much. Welcome, everyone. My name is Ramon Concepcion. I'm the Interim Director for the Welcome Center Department at Bellevue College. And our mission is to help every student throughout their entry process into Bellevue. So our staff will provide admissions advising sessions and one-on-one sessions. We also provide info sessions, and we guide you every step of the way through your admissions process, your placement for math and English or all the courses, your new student orientation, and most importantly, that you schedule an appointment with an academic advisor to schedule your educational plan before you register for your first class at Bellevue College. So I'm here supporting our college navigator, Arik Reina, which will be providing more information about Bellevue College.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Arik Reina. I'm the other half of Bellevue College. I'm the college navigator here, and I'm super excited to be here to talk about Bellevue College. Just a little bit about Bellevue College. We offer 2-year degrees, associate degrees, bachelor's degrees, as well as transfer degrees and certificates as well too. We are in the heart of Bellevue, so we are very close related with Bellevue School District. We love giving students opportunities to be at Bellevue College, and our admissions process is super easy. We don't require any personal statements. We don't require any resumes or anything like that, any tests. It's super easy to become a student at Bellevue College, and we have tons of services that we're excited to talk about today too.
I guess I'll jump in. My name is Gina Nakamura, and I work at Seattle Central College, which is part of the Seattle colleges. So there are 3 of us in the district. So we have a college kind of near Northgate Mall, a college called South Seattle, in my opinion, should be called West Seattle College, because it's located over here in an island where we don't have a bridge. And my college, Seattle Central, which is in Capitol Hill. You might have heard of us near Chop Jazz over last year. And spread out around Seattle, we are Seattle's oldest community college, opened in 1966. And each of us kind of have our own personalities and also popular programs. So for Seattle Central, our most popular program that's not transfer is, say, IT. You know, we have 6 IT degrees. And healthcare. I would say healthcare is another top popular area of study for us. And I would also say creative arts those are probably our top 3 career-focused areas of interest of study. And then, of course, most students who come to the Seattle colleges are a transfer student and do what's called a transfer degree. And most of our students at my college transfer to UW. That's about one stop on our light rail away from us. So that would be typically 2 years at a college like mine, and then 2 years, say, at a university. I'm very happy to see all of you today. And just to let you know a little bit about me, I'm a former Seattle Colleges student and Lake Washington, actually. I went to community and technical colleges myself, actually for 6 years, long story there. But eventually I went to UW Seattle, got my bachelor's, and then I went on to get my master's at what I consider the hippiest college in the state, being Evergreen. So I'm also a greener. So very nice to meet all of you and be here today.
Awesome. My name is Casey Melnick. I'm with Lake Washington Institute of Technology. We're just up the road in Kirkland. And I'm going to apologize in advance. My dog in the other room has decided that there's something outside and he has to talk to it. So I apologize in advance for the extra noise. Lake Washington Tech, we are part of the community and technical college system, and we're sort of on the opposite end of the spectrum from Seattle Central and Bellevue. We really focus on the professional technical degrees. We do not offer a traditional general transfer degree. So everything that we do really is directly related to a workforce outcome versus a transfer outcome. So we have more than 40 different programs with that workforce outcome. We do have transfer agreements and articulation agreements, but they're a little bit more specific. So we really have an emphasis in those hands-on, technically focused, skills-focused classes. That started with things like manufacturing and auto repair. Our first program ever was sewing back in the 50s, and it is still going. And with that, that's really translated into, what does it mean to be a Institute of Technology in 2021 as we've moved into healthcare and IT and all of these different sectors that are really centrally located here in the Pacific Northwest. And what are the skills that you need to operate within those spheres? So really happy to have that opportunity for students to grow in that way.
Thank you for those introductions, all of you. Casey, I wonder if I can pick on you to start kind of from here. You all can kind of do your thing, but wondering if you could talk a little bit about the difference between a technical college and a two-year college. What does that look like for you guys?
Yeah, and that's both a really difficult question and a really simple question. So being in the same system, we all start from the same place. So something that you'll see a lot is we're all part of the same curriculums. So English 101 is English 101 at all 34 schools, right? Your math classes, those all transfer, your general academics, those are all the same. There's a state agreement where if any of you have done Running Start or have taken some sort of college class, if you've seen on your transcript a English and 101, that little ampersand, that designates that there's the state agreement. All of us take the classes exactly the same. Really, then it becomes a question of, what is your end goal? Is your end goal to go directly to work or to continue in a more of a professional development or a professional technical bachelor's degree? That's where you might look at more of that technical college side of things. If the goal is to transfer to UW or to Central or to Western or WSU or whatever it might be, then you might look for some of those colleges that are a little bit more of the academic transfer focus. It all just depends on how those curriculums are built, what the end goal is, and who is going to get you the most classes that meet that next step. Right? So if you are looking at transferring to UW, you want to make sure that you are looking for a transfer degree that is either within that same sphere or is a more general transfer degree that meets more of those academic requirements going into a program versus, we'll use welding as an example at LW Tech, where the welding degree that we offer, not a lot of extra academic classes if you want to transfer into a university to continue something there. You're probably only going to get 4 academic classes and a whole lot of welding classes that will transfer as an elective. So it really comes down to starting with the end in mind and working backwards from whatever that end goal is, right? So I hope that kind of answers the question. It was a little bit roundabout, but again, it's what is your goal and which college is the best setting to help you get there.
Does anybody on the panel want to add anything to what Casey shared before we move on?
I just wrote something in the chat, and I just wanted to reiterate that if anybody has a particular program or area of interest that you're interested in today, please tell us so we can use that in our examples or talk about it as we answer other questions.
Thank you, Gina. I'm assuming that Casey's covered it, so we'll go ahead and move on to the next thing. I wonder if you guys could talk a little bit about the supports that each of your systems have for students. Gina, I don't know if I could call on you to go first. That'll give some people time to think of their questions as well.
Yeah, so at Seattle Central, at all 34 of our colleges, because we service such a wide diversity of type of student, right? So our average ages are higher than a university. We help retrain people, worker retraining. We help former foster youth. We help people that are minors in Running Start. We help people that are coming back to college 20, 30 years later. People with disabilities, people that it's their first time, their first generation to college, their parents never went to college. I can go on and on and on about the different types of populations of students that we help. And because of that, we are in a unique position where we offer services for all of those populations and more that I just spoke about. So that is one huge perk. You are not a number when you come to a college like ours. In fact, that's shown by the class size. So, you know, at a private university, they might charge 10 times as much for tuition, but you get that great personal one-on-one relationship with your faculty because you're in a room with 20 people. Same situation at colleges like ours. Our class sizes typically never get larger than 30. And all of those services, tutoring, you know, mentoring, disability support services, childcare. Some of us have childcare on campus as well. Just a plethora of services to help you in your unique situation to make sure that you're successful in college. That typically large research institutions and universities don't necessarily have because they're not working with those populations as much.
Yeah, and for Bellevue College, we echo a lot of those same services. We also have at Bellevue College, we have housing on campus too for students who may need that. We do have TRIO on campus for first generation college students where they can kind of be in a cohort of different students, kind of help each other out. You get connected to a lot of services on campus. We also have made a big commitment to STEM too. We have our STEM to STERN program, which is also another cohort of students who are wanting to go into the STEM field where you can learn more about the different areas of STEM, can get connected to different resources and different internships at different companies too. Our student ambassador for the STEM to STERN program has actually been a part of NASA as an internship before. So we have a lot of different partnerships that Bellevue College can get students connected to. We have, Disability Resource Center, LGBTQIA plus center, free tutoring, counseling services on campus. We have a lot of resources for students at Bellevue College.
I would also like to emphasize the networking that students are able to do at Bellevue College and Seattle and Lake Washington because of the size of the college per se is super important. Right now, the business clubs, the student organizations, student associations, and the virtual reality club through that degree, it's providing a lot of opportunity for students to network within the campus and find, the networks with other institutions as well. So everything becomes very smooth, right? The integration of you as a student into the university and feeling that you belong is important for Bellevue College because that's what will guide you also along with your academics, will guide you to success. So we take that very seriously from the get-go when you apply or when you actually go through the process of admissions, placement, registration. We want you to be connected with the multicultural services trio, student clubs, like a STEM to STERN, like Eric mentioned. Those are very important components of your life as a student at Bellevue College. Also, as the biggest community college in the state, it's important for us to accommodate some of the services and resources that other institutions have. So, for example, athletics. We have over 7 sports clubs and teams that play in the WAC conference. Those are opportunities that you can explore at Bellevue College and use it as an advantage to transfer to a 4-year institution and be part of a Division One. So those are things that Bellevue College is expanding or growing, and capitalizing on the fact that students want to really be part of a community, explore an education where they can be successful in the marketplace, but also live a good life, like the life of a college student. And that's something that at Bellevue College we can provide to many students in Washington State, internationally or out of state. And I would say that's one of the biggest advantage. But all of that comes into building community as a student, feeling like you belong and that you can accomplish anything, either through transfer, through a technical degree, or through an associate or a bachelor's. So those are, everything has to be seen as a whole, and we're very proud that we can accomplish that.
Yeah, the only thing that I would add there is I think one of the most underrated sort of resources on a campus isn't a resource at all, but our classrooms are limited to 25 to 30 students. My first college class earlier, and I apologize to panelists who are going to hear me repeat myself over and over. My first college class was 536 students. That makes a huge difference. When you're in these classrooms where the professors are going to know your name, you are going to know them, you're going to know your classmates. Somebody had just mentioned networking. I apologize, I can't remember who had said that, but that makes a huge difference. I had mentioned in the previous session that my twin brother was a student at LW Tech. I didn't mention that my younger brother also did. So I was actually the last of my siblings to show up to the college. And when I did, at least a dozen different people, and it was professors, it was people in enrollment, in advising, in all of these different offices, would come up to me and they were saying, "Oh, you're Brett and Cody's brother." And I thought, no, they're my brothers, right? It was the first time in my life where I was their brothers. And to show up in that first week and just kind of see what kind of community they had, and I'd heard their stories and whatnot, but to actually have people recognize their name and to have known them, I think that makes a huge difference for our students, both in the classroom and moving forward to either transferring or going into the workforce.
Thank you, everyone, for all that great information. Again, I don't know if there's anybody who's listening who would like to ask any specific questions to their own needs, but please feel free to do so. While we're waiting for that, I will say that as a product of a 2-year school myself, I do remember trying to navigate the idea of transferring. So I don't know if anybody wants to talk a little bit about what it means to transfer. Do I have to take the SATs or the ACT, the LMNOP? Do I have to do, what do I have to do in order to be able to take my credits from your school and move them somewhere else if this is what I want to do?
Well, I guess I'll jump in and just say that as far as transferring in a very traditional, typical transfer way from Bellevue or Seattle, it is very easy if you do the full 2 years. So if you've kind of committed and you know that you're going to do your first 2 years at a community college, you're pretty set. There's a lot of options for you. If you especially if you stay within the state, you can kind of know that you're pretty set. You can go to UW or Wazoo or Western or Eastern or wherever you want to go. Where it gets a little bit hairy is in the Lake Washington side, and also in our Prof Tech degrees. Those can get a little stickier. So those, they're not necessarily always going to transfer to the college you want to transfer to, or all those classes might not transfer. So that's just kind of a larger idea to think about. It's super easy to transfer. If you go to, if you get the typical transfer, usually known as an associate's, an AA, an AS, those kinds of degrees, especially within the state. And if you go out of state, it might not be as easy. Yeah, that's just some framework for transferring.
Gina, before you step off stage, you mentioned Prof You use kind of I just wonder if you could expand on what is a prof degree, just in case our people don't know what that means.
Yeah, so in general, at our colleges, there are two kinds of sides of the house, you would say. And one side of the house is, we call it a transfer degree. And what that really means is for a couple years, you're just doing general stuff. For 2 years, you're doing general stuff. You're just like you're in high school. You're doing some math, science, English, some things you don't want, some electives you do want. You're just doing some generals. So you can either do 2 years of generals and then go on somewhere else, major. You could stay or go, whatever, but you have to choose a major after. Or the other side of the house, which I referred to as prof tech, it's our lingo, just short for professional technical, pretty much means career training option degrees. Those are specific. So, for example, you want to be a chef. You know, you've been watching those cooking shows, you're addicted, you know culinary arts is for you. Professional technical is for 2 years, you are just doing culinary classes. That is all you're doing. You are not doing math, science, English, a bunch of other stuff. But what that means is that you are ready to enter the workforce. That's why it's called career training. You are training right then and there from the get-go, from the first day you walk through the door. You got the knife in your hand and you are learning how to chop, and you are going to be a chef in 2 years. So that's an example. So those are things like, you know, automotive technology, culinary. There's just a slew of options. And typically, that also means that you don't necessarily need to transfer. You can start working right away, making those great dollar signs after that degree. And again, that's really wildly different than the more traditional gen eds for 2 years, and then you go on and choose your major at a university.
Thank you. Yeah, no, thank you for explaining the two of those. Ramon, Casey, I don't know if you'd like to add anything, but would love to open the space.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and jump in. We specialize in kind of that other side of the house. So one thing to look at if you're looking for a professional technical program is the opportunity to get what is called a direct transfer agreement or an articulation agreement. There are some programs at universities that will say, yes, this 2-year professional technical associate's degree, we will acknowledge that as fulfilling all of the requirements for starting the program when you get to the university. And I'll just to give students an idea, because I had no idea what I was doing my first day of college when I showed up. I got there and I thought I was just going to be in my program, and turns out that's not how it works, right? You have to do a couple years of your prerequisites and some of those gen eds and meet some of those minimum requirements to then apply to the College of Engineering or the College of Communications or whatever that might be. So that's what I mean, where if you get your 2-year degree and there's a direct transfer agreement or an articulation agreement, it can meet all of those initial requirements and you can start at that junior level directly into the program. One benefit to finding those type of degrees, I will use like our computer security and networking. We talked a little bit about a similar program over at Bellevue in the last session, where because like Gina said, in those professional technical programs, you start much more hands-on more quickly. When those students transfer, they tend to be very, very successful at the universities because they've already done the hands-on projects that the 4-year students are just getting to. That is not always the case, but our students who have gone through security and networking, who have gone through things like culinary or architectural technology, mechanical design, they tend to have a leg up at least in that technical side of things. So there are definitely some cons where you might not get all of those gen eds, those general education requirements that you need, but you might have some different skill sets that you could bring to the university setting that other students might not have taken that more traditional path.
And then I guess for Bellevue College, one other thing that we are directly working with 4-year colleges to make sure that we are meeting them where they're at and kind of making sure the student is ready to take on that 4-year program, program at that 4-year college. And we're always planning with the student, especially our academic advisors, always planning with the student what classes they're wanting to take. If there's any prerequisites that they may need to take that aren't through the program, we plan with them that maybe they're going to take that summer quarter to take those classes so that they can go into that program right away at UW or Wazoo or wherever. We have a lot of partnerships with those colleges, so we're always trying to make sure that we're making it smooth transition to that four-year college, and to make sure that they have all the tools necessary to be successful in those programs too. So that's Bellevue College.
I'm wondering who we have in the room. What are you guys interested in? Those of you that are in this session, what do you think you're going to study? Don't be shy. You can put it in the chat.
There are about 3.5 minutes left. I don't know if there's any other information that you feel is vital to share with our lovely audience. Audience members do know that if you do check the chat, our presenters are putting their emails there. So if you have further questions or want to talk, more of an individualized manner, you can do so. But we've got a question here. The likelihood of transfer into UW's engineering program. I know that they are extremely competitive as a four-year program. Anybody want to tackle that one?
If I can.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, we're really proud of one of our students. We have a engineering transfer program. We just graduated our first cohort of 6 students. All 6 of them got accepted into a 4-year program, and one of them got accepted into the electrical engineering program at UW Bothell and the aerospace engineering program at UW Seattle. This guy's brilliant, but I just say that too. It was pretty cool to watch happen. So.
I guess I just wanted to let you know that schools like University of Washington, they have general numbers that they admit per type of student. And I just want to say that because they cannot choose to accept 100% of international students to go to UW, right? They have a certain amount of, say, freshmen that they want incoming that year from high school, from the state of Washington, right? And I want to say that because they hold spots and space for transfer students. So talking about the likelihood of getting in, I don't know the likelihood specifically about the engineering program, but I'd like to speak to the likelihood of getting into a competitive research institution like UW. You are competing against other transfer students, which is totally different than you're competing for a spot as a freshman. So, and in general, that's about a 30% hold that they have in general for transfer students. So UW holds generally about 30% of their seats are for transfer students from colleges like ours, which also makes the pool potentially smaller. So if you think about that, think about all the graduates or all the freshmen that are competing for a spot in the fall at UW against everyone else, that number naturally gets smaller when you think about the number of transfer students also trying to get into UW.
We have somebody else who put in the chat that they're interested in business, possibly real estate investing. So I don't know if anybody wants to provide a little bit of info to this person whose interests are here. Arik, I think I also might have cut you off and I didn't mean to do that either.
I was just going to say for the last one too. So for our direct transfer agreement programs, we do have quite a bit in engineering. We have chemical and bioengineering, civil, mechanical, as well as electrical and computer engineering direct transfer agreements. So just to put that plug in there too.
And I had a typo on that one, but yes, a lot of our students actually transfer from engineering to UW. And the cool thing about this is we talked about networking. That is a group of when we say network, of the future the transfer engineering students. That's a network that is very strong at BC. You see a lot of students that share information, information about requirements to go to different schools. It's a group that is very well embedded into the programs on STEM, for example, and other virtual reality computing. They actually collaborate a lot with computer science students because they know that a lot of the coding, software, engineering courses that they take at BC will be transferable. So that's a very good, I would say, in the Bellevue level, that's a very good cohort of students that we have on campus that end up transferring to UW, Seattle. But also Bothell is a great option, and we can't forget about Tacoma. Tacoma actually provides financial aid a lot to a lot of the transfer students because one of their goals is to keep enrollment up, right? And they have a lot of Bothell and Seattle for being in the region and having a concentrated population. Well, they try to provide financial aid to actually have people to go to Tacoma. So yes, it is possible. It is part of the transfer degrees that we have with Washington State institutions. So it's totally possible on that. In terms of business, it's a degree, it's a pathway that is actually growing at Bellevue College, and it's because it provides a bachelor's of science alternatives, especially on marketing, digital marketing, and data analytics, which is a field that is growing a lot in the business field, especially now that we have Amazon headquarters moving to town. So a lot of kids are exploring that area. The good thing about the business transfer degree is that the courses are transferable to a UW or any state institution, but it's perfectly suited for BC as a Bachelor of Science opportunity. And I think Gina mentioned Western. Yeah, I always encourage people to go to Western, but they never hear that. So, but yeah, it's a business. It's part of the IBITS program, and it provides a lot of alternatives, both technologically, and in the business side, let's say corporate or real estate. And that's where the whole marketing and geography and space aspect and investing comes into play at Bellevue College.
Fabulous. We are a couple minutes over, but I did notice that we had a question about are there internships? And so I just wanted to make sure that we answered that question. Are there internship programs or certifications? So if we just briefly answer that, and then we will need to transition because we'll be starting a third session soon. Arik, I see you put something in the chat. Do you want to just kind of share out real quick?
Yeah, I think it says entrepreneurship. Yeah, entrepreneurship.
What the heck did I say? Don't worry about what I said. I'm glad
No
you
worries,
can
no
read.
worries. Yeah, so I just put the link in there for our entrepreneurship certificate in there.
Thank you for checking on my words. It totally does say entrepreneurship. My bad. So that's going to conclude our second session of the night. The third session starts at 8 o'clock. If there are any last thoughts or questions, please feel free to put those in the chat, but we are going to end this session. Thank you for participating, and thank you to our wonderful presenters. Remember, we start the next one at 8 o'clock. I don't know if you guys can see it if you're still around, but we do have Brennan's asked a question about if Bellevue College offers internships. I read that word right.
Yes, the internship part. Yeah, I remember saying internship, then entrepreneurship. So I was like, well, maybe it was entrepreneurship.
No, I said entrepreneurship.
Nope,
I had to
no.
go back and look. This one says internship.
Okay, say does web college offer internships? Say like networks. Oh, yes, it's part of the and I'm imagine offer internships within campus or oh, okay, internship. So the cool thing about if you want to conduct an internship at Bellevue College, it's good to contact the career Center for Career Connections. They actually connect with all the resources on campus and outside of campus for internship programs. Um, you know, depending on the area that you want to be working on. So yes, definitely possible to get an internship at BC or outside. Actually, to elaborate on that, we have one student at the Welcome Center that is doing an internship through our OLS program, which is, let me, OLS Bellevue, so I can find a occupational and life skills programs that we have in the North Campus. So we're collaborating with them directly to provide internships to their students. So yes, it's possible to conduct internships at BC.
Hi, and welcome to the last session of the evening. I know that some people will continue to trickle in, but I want to make sure and honor time. And for those of you who it's been a long day, we want to get you all the information that you need on time. So with that said, I will introduce myself first. My name is Anisha Grigsby. I'm one of the assistant principals at Sammamish High School, and you are in the session for learning about transfer schools, technical colleges, two-year programs. So hopefully you are in the right place. This is not a session for Running Start, so we will not be discussing Running Start at this time. If you do have a question about Running Start, you can share that with a counselor at school, or find someone else at a later date to ask those questions to. But right now, what we're going to do is I'm going to turn it over to our presenters. They are going to introduce themselves and they will share some information with you. What I want to do is invite you to add your thoughts to the chat. So if at any time you have a question, you want to talk specifically about a program, or there's just something that you're dying to know more about, please, please, please put those in the chat. So with that, I'm going to go out of order to this time, but Casey, let's have you go first if you don't mind. Casey, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, and then we'll go from there.
Wonderful, thank you. So my name is Casey Melnick, and I'm with Lake Washington Institute of Technology. And we're a little bit different. So there's 34 community and technical colleges in the state. We're all part of the same system. We're all working towards the same goals. It's just slightly different on how we build our curriculums. And we'll get into more details on that later. But we really have an emphasis on the professional technical side of things. You might hear us say Prof Tech a couple times throughout the day. So that really is programs that have a workforce focused outcome. So we've got more than 40 different programs that all really direct a student towards the job and that dream career. It's mostly associate degrees. We have 10 bachelor's degrees now, short certificates, everything in between. So really excited to offer students a type of education that's a little bit more hands-on, a little bit more skills-based. I have a degree in communications and creative writing, so I feel like I can say this. It is the exact opposite of what I did. And it's a style of education that I just wasn't really aware of growing up. So really excited to now be able to talk about this. Both my brothers went to Lake Washington Tech, so I've seen it be really, really successful, even on that personal level, even before I started working with our students. So really excited to talk about that opportunity with everybody today.
Yeah, I guess I'll go next. Hi, everyone. So my name is Art Grena. I am the college navigator at Bellevue College. I'm super excited to be here. A little bit about Bellevue College. We are a two-year school that offers two-year degrees, transfer degrees, bachelor's degrees, as well as certificates. We have a pretty simple admissions process. We don't require any personal statements. We don't require any resumes or anything like that. We are in Bellevue. We're in the heart of Bellevue, so we're happy to be here and support any Bellevue College or any Bellevue School District students.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ramon Concepcion. I'm the interim director of the Welcome Center Department at Bellevue College. And our job primarily is to provide all the entry-level services for all prospective students. So when you're applying, when you require placement, when you require the new student orientation, registration, and meet with an academic advisor, our staff will be there for you. So we provide admissions advising appointments, info sessions, and you can contact us anytime for you to navigate Bellevue College and higher ed. So welcome to the panel.
Hi, my name is Gina Nakamura, and I work at Seattle Central College, which is actually part of the Seattle colleges. So we're a district of 3 colleges: North Seattle next to Northgate Mall, South Seattle, that should be called West Seattle, and my college, Seattle Central, which is located in Capitol Hill, kind of a historical area of the city. I would say a very LGBTQI friendly area of the city. We are located now on the light rail link, one stop away from UW Seattle. Some of our most popular programs at my particular college are healthcare, so nursing, respiratory care, of course, COVID, that being had a huge uptick there, dental hygiene, social and human services, and then IT. So we have 6 IT degrees, including bachelor's degrees. Of course, with Amazon able to just walk a few blocks down the hill, a lot of our students place very close in proximity to where our campus is located, especially our healthcare students, with all of our hospitals being a few blocks away as well. And then I would say creative arts is another area that we are pretty popular in, that being things like graphic design, commercial photography, culinary arts. And most of our students go to UW Seattle. So most of our students are transfer students. Most of them go to UW Seattle. And yeah, we can talk a little bit later. Oh, and me personally, I'm a student. I'm a former alum of Seattle colleges and actually Lake Washington is on the panel. And I ended up going to UW Seattle for my bachelor's in communications. And then I ended up going to Evergreen, which I feel is the hippiest college in the state, for my master's.
Fabulous. Thanks everyone for introducing yourselves. Just want to reiterate that if you have specific things you want to talk about, please put those in the chat. Our presenters want to be able to give you individualized care, and so that's one way they can do that, is hearing from you. So the chat is open. They can see your chats. They will answer your questions. To give some people some time to think of what they would like to know more about, maybe you guys can discuss the difference between a technical school and a two-year school. What does that look like?
I can go ahead and jump in. So really the biggest difference is going to be, I had mentioned the prof tech degrees versus a more general transfer degree. More or less, a technical college is working towards a workforce, job-focused, start work immediately outcome, whereas and I recognize that this is a very generalized statement and not always true, but the community colleges tend to have more of an emphasis on transfer degrees. So transferring into the universities, going to finish a bachelor's at another university, or now finishing a bachelor's on campus. That's a growing, I don't like to call it a trend. I don't think it's a trend, but there's a huge shift to seeing more and more bachelor degrees available at the community colleges. So I think that's a big part of it. You'll see prof tech degrees at the community colleges. At the technical colleges, you'll see some transfer degrees that lean up to the professional side. For the most part, we're all in the same system. English 101 is always English 101. Your pre-calculus is always pre-calculus. So there's some different things that line up. It's really just the end goal that's a little bit different.
Did any of the three of you want to add anything to what Casey said before we respond to the question in the chat? It's fine if you don't. I just want to give you the space.
Yeah, so maybe I just want to basically to kind of frame it, at colleges like ours, there's pretty two sides of the house. And one side is that more traditional college transfer side that Casey was just referring to. That's the one where at my college and Bellevue College, most of our students choose to do, which is that transfer route. And then the other side, we refer to very often as professional technical or career training. And so there's just kind of these two tracks to decide. Your biggest decision is which side of the house are you going to start off in? And you could always end up at similar places, but it is a choice at the beginning as to which direction to start off in.
And I will elaborate on the fact that our colleges offer opportunity. They offer choices, which is one of the most important things. Right now at Bellevue College, we have what but it's called the Tombolo Institute. And it's an institute where you can actually take courses in business and technology and specifically on health sciences that will help you to train you in your field. So our colleagues were mentioned, we have students that graduate after the associate's degree and keep on taking those courses so they can keep up with the technology that they use in the workplace, especially in the health science, business, and technology fields. But most importantly, in terms of numbers, there's no doubt that most of our students come to Bellevue College for a transfer degree. But during the situation that we're living and where cost-effective education is extremely important for many families and many students, a lot of students are choosing to stay at Bellevue College. Just like institutions in Seattle colleges or Lake Washington, when you have the opportunity to finish your bachelor's degree in a community college, it really saves you a lot of money. And you have the networking, you have the space to do it, you will have the support. And I think that's a decision that students are able to even take in a year, whether they're going to transfer to a 4-year institution or stay. But it's good to have that option. So it's good to have the option of staying for an associate's degree, doing a technical, staying for a bachelor's, or transferring to a 4-year institution, but also, in the case of Bellevue College, have the opportunity to come back and take courses in the Tombolo Institute that will further up their career always. So that it's very, very, very important to have those choices when you choose a career in higher ed. And I see some questions.
Yeah, thank you for that information. I wanted to make sure, so we have a member of our audience who asked a question in relation to transferring to an oceanography program or science in general. I want to make sure that that person knows that there are 2 responses to that in the chat for you. So there's 2 links for you, but figured we might as well talk a little bit now about transferring and what does that look like from each of your perspectives in schools. There's anything more you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, so we'll talk about Bellevue College, the link that I provided. It's not specifically for oceanography. It is going to be for earth sciences and around that realm. So it's going to have more of kind of like a feel to getting to that oceanography program at whatever 4-year institution you're wanting to go to, but it's going to be definitely more earth science related and more in the science realm. It's obviously going to have your English 101s, your math 101s and stuff like that, but definitely more towards science and earth science.
And to elaborate on that, so we have oceanography faculty members at Bellevue College. So those credits you can transfer very easily as part of the earth science associate's degree at Bellevue College. You can finish the actual bachelor's degree in a 4-year institution. The good thing about Bellevue College in this case is that all these courses within the first 2 years are typically the same that you will be taking in a 4-year institution. So make sure that you, like Eric mentioned, you take your math, you take your English 101 levels, but take the oceanography courses that will actually get you ahead once you transfer. And that's the important thing about the transfer degree, and why we recommend everyone to do an educational plan before you even start at Bellevue College, before your first quarter, or within your first quarter at Bellevue College, because these are courses that are very essential to take early on and for you to have a very smooth transfer.
And I just want to address the part of the question that is really, you're trying to make a decision as to which is the best college. Okay, we all offer oceanography, we all offer a transfer degree, we can get to the same end result, but which college is best for you? And so I just want to speak to, there's a couple things that you can do to kind of do your homework and research and kind of figure that out. The first thing is that you might already know what university you want to go to major in oceanography. You already might know you want to have your heart set on going to UW. Well, you can actually speak to UW's department and you can ask them questions like, hey, where do most of your students that are transfer students that come into your program, where are they from? So you can kind of do your homework and research in that way and see which students are going to which programs from which colleges. The other thing that I would say is the shopping. So right now you're kind of like shopping. We're each paid from our colleges to talk about our colleges and the programs we offer, but you're also in shopping mode. So one of the things that you can do in your shopping adventure to choosing a college and which school is best for you is attending workshops like this, but also when COVID we reopen from COVID, is coming to visit, see the teachers, see the faculty, see if you would feel comfortable at that particular campus. So that's another thing that you can do when you're trying to figure out what school is best for you.
Thank you for elaborating on that question. Again, as you notice, they are ready and willing to answer any specific questions. So again, I'll put that out there that if anybody has anything else they would like answered for themselves personally, please pop that in the chat. While we're waiting for more specific questions, I wonder if you can take us even a step back. Gina or Ramon, since your cameras are on, maybe one of you want to flip a coin and answer, but so I'm a high school student right now. What do I have to do to be accepted to you right now? Not even talking about transferring yet, but do I have to take the SATs? Do I need to take Spanish for 3 years? What do you need from me to be ready to be a student at your school?
I just spoke, so Ramon, why don't you take it?
Harry, I try to unmute myself. It's so hard sometimes. Okay, so to be part of Bellevue College, the good thing is that we're open admissions campus. So you don't have to take any SAT or any exam to come to Bellevue College. Now, if you have your high school transcripts, they can help you with the placement. So you can submit your unofficial transcripts after you apply to Bellevue College to our placement and testing services so that you can get placement in math and English. And that's an advantage that students have when they come directly from high school. However, if you're a returning student or you want to complete an associate's degree, but you don't have a high school diploma, you can take the placement test. And we'll make sure that you get located in the math and English level for you to start your career at Bellevue College. So no SAT required. However, if you decide to take your SAT, because it's always, and for so many institutions still in the nation, it's still very important. We can use those scores as part of your placement as well at Bellevue College. So the alternatives are very open, but if you decide to take any test or you take college in the high school credits, we would definitely take those credits and do the placement test based on your merit. But always, you will always have the option of taking a placement test at Bellevue College, whether you have those degrees or unofficial transcripts.
And that's the case for all of us. So it's open door policy. Come on in. That's the case for all of us.
If I can just add one thing there, just as I don't want to use the word warning, but just so students coming out of high school are aware, there are some programs that then will be selective admissions afterwards. So I know several of us have nursing programs, occupational therapy assistant, physical therapy assistant. So do know that in some cases, and there's not a lot of them at every college, but in some cases there are some selective admissions programs that then may have some additional requirements. Typically there'll be 3, 4, 5 college courses before you get there. So just be aware of that. So that'll be part of your, I like that shopping metaphor. So as you're shopping not only for schools, but for programs, just realize that some of those programs may have some additional things 2 or 3 quarters into your college career.
I see a question in the chat, so I'll go ahead and get started on it. It's about transferring to UW, and I was kind of talking about there's two decisions to make. If you do go with the decision that you'd like to do a transfer degree and go to UW, in general, as long as you complete 2 years, so as long as you finish 2 years at a college like mine, then your transfer to UW is like almost seamless. Pretty much, as long as you get those 90 credits and you finished for 2 years, all of your credits are going to transfer. You've been working with your advisor, you're taking your general classes, math, science, English, some stuff you want, some stuff you don't want. Boom, 2 years later, you know that those credits are going to transfer. It's a pretty clear, seamless process. If you stop short and you don't complete the 2 years, that's where it can get a little murky, because maybe one of your classes doesn't transfer. The agreement is the full 2 years. So super easy. You finish the 2 years with us. Little bit sticky if you don't, but if you're working with your advisor, you can make sure that all of your classes will transfer pretty easy. So the second part of the question, it looks like that just popped up, is, so is it guaranteed to get in if you complete everything on time? Great follow-up question. So actually, short story, that I was actually the last cohort to get in on the DTA to UW Seattle, actually, because there used to be that automatic guarantee of a completion of admission that you speak of at UW Seattle, and that did end. So there is no 100% guarantee, but you know what there is? UW Seattle and other universities do have committed seats for types of students. So they do not choose to, for example, take 100% of all their students are international students because they pay the most. They have types of space that they hold. And so for transfer students at UW Seattle specifically, that's approximately 30%. So 30% of UW students are held for transfer student spots. And what that means for you is that if you do that transfer degree route to UW Seattle, you're not competing against everybody who's trying to go to UW Seattle. You're not competing against every freshman who just graduated that year in Washington or wherever for a seat. You're only competing against other transfer students, which does make your pool smaller, period. So.
And I would also say too, it depends on the program, but some programs, especially at UW, may require extra classes on top of the program for their prereqs. So it's just about making sure you're keeping up to date on what that program is asking. They might ask you to submit a personal statement. They might ask you to submit a resume, stuff like that. Just making sure you're following through with them and asking them any questions. But definitely at Bellevue College, we do help you with a lot of those things. And if there are classes that are needed, we'll make a plan to make sure we get those classes if we offer them at Bellevue College on your schedule. So, yeah.
Fabulous. I love the question that came up because this is the first time it has come up, and I'm surprised by that. But if you all could share, how are you providing classes? What's going on? Is it 100% in person? Do you have some hybrid? Did any talk of going back? Oh, inquiring minds would like to know.
Yeah, so I can jump in. So the short version is any classes that can be online are online. Any classes that require additional lab space, shops, it's really hard to learn how to weld over the internet, right? So anything like that, machining, welding, automotive, nursing, culinary, baking, a lot of these different technical hands-on programs, those are still happening on campus. So then we have really strict social distancing guidelines. Everybody's required to wear a mask. I will be on campus at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning, taking temperatures and asking health screening questions. And, knock on wood, so far we've been very, very successful with it. We haven't had any confirmed cases on campus. Our students are taking it really seriously. Our faculty and staff are taking it really seriously. And I know that all the other colleges are as well. And we still have to be able to provide an education. For us, it's still too early to call what things are going to look like next fall. We just don't know yet. The vaccines, it's still too early with all of the distribution issues that the nation is having. It's still just too soon. So I know that every single person on this panel is crossing their fingers that we're back on campus summer and fall, but we just don't know yet.
Thanks, Casey. I guess I didn't even realize that you guys were still providing in-person services. That's awesome. Anyone else?
So we're exactly the same as Casey noted. For us, the only difference is we've already made a decision as a district that we have permanently altered our class times. So after this, what we just experienced with COVID and remote learning, we have decided to move away from the traditional Monday through Friday class structure of 50 minutes a day. And we have permanently made the decision, regardless of when we come back into physical classes, that we will offer block scheduling and classes Monday through Thursday only.
And I can elaborate on BC. So Bellevue College, and just like Lake Washington, right, classes that can go online are online, and we're being very effective on that. But very importantly, our health science division in school actually got permission to conduct labs in person. So actually, we have a healthcare screening at the college. You have to report online, and then you have to go to the health screening station where you have to fill up a form, and they take your temperature, and you actually can go and be part of a in-person class so that you can do the lab work that is required for health sciences. So that was a special requirement, and faculty and staff got together with a flu team, and were able to create spaces and places where people had to go specifically if you want to use a restroom, or what are the classes and labs that will be open. So Bellevue College did provide that for the health science faculty and students. The rest of it is still online, and now that we're entering the phase 2, and in our region, athletics got permission to, for their athletes to start practicing, but they practice in an individual basis, and I think group or team practices are starting soon if there's no other announcement by WAC. So things are moving forward, but we're taking the precautions that are necessary to move ahead with our programs.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you all for sharing, and thank you for the question. There are a couple of minutes left. I don't know if there's any other thoughts from our audience members. You have the floor, so please do feel free to put something in the chat. One thing that we have talked about in other sessions, and wonder if these lovely people would like to know as well, is just what are the support systems that are available at each of your institutions. If you could share about that briefly, I think that would be helpful. So Casey, I don't know if you want to go first.
And I'm sorry, you cut out there for just a minute and I missed about a third of the question. Can you repeat it?
Oh, my bad. Supports on your campus.
Yeah. So something that I think the community colleges do really well, and I'll try to hit some of the high level stuff that all of us have, knowing that we're a little short on time. Community colleges tend to look a little bit different from universities. I went to school in Pullman, where the average age of the whole city was 22 because of the university, versus the community colleges, where we have veterans and we have people coming back for second careers, and we have people coming back for retraining opportunities. And yes, we have the running start student and that straight out of high school student. So it tends to be a little bit more diverse in that sense. So then with that, there's all of the different resources that you need from that. Workforce development programs, TRIO programs, disability support services, additional counseling, more advising opportunities, free tutoring on campus. So there's a lot of different opportunities, regardless of sort of the student's circumstances, where we're able to meet a student where they are and help make adjustments so that they can succeed in the classroom. With that, I would say another huge benefit to our students is the smaller class sizes of 25 to 30 students. That makes a big difference as far as access to the professor. You will know them, they will know you, you will know all of your classmates. And I think that makes a really big difference for our students in just building a community, in building a network, and just being successful even quarter to quarter.
Thank you.
Well said, Casey.
I can talk about Bellevue Colleges. A couple that we have is we do have a foundation on campus that can help students with yearly scholarships as well as emergency funds. We do have housing on campus. We have built our first residence hall, and we do have students living in it right now, which is we're working at a smaller capacity, but once it's safe to do so, we are happy to open that up at full capacity again. And we have plans for more residence halls so students can live on campus. We have a lot of same resources as most colleges do. I will say we have a LGBTQIA plus resource center, counseling services, just a lot of services provided for students, and we have TRIO for first generation college students.
Fabulous. Thank you guys so much for sharing. Again, it's amazing how quickly 30 minutes can go when you have so much information to share. Families, that concludes our college conference time. That is session 3. We are done. So again, in the chat, each of them have put their emails. If you have further questions or something that comes up after this, thank you for spending time with us. Hopefully you are able to either eat dinner if you haven't, do some homework, kind of relax before the end of the night. But thank you again. Thank you to our presenters. You've been fabulous tonight. We really appreciate you giving your evening to us.
Yeah, nice to meet you guys. Nice.
Thanks
Yeah,
so
it was
much.
a pleasure. That was fun.
Thank you. Nicole, you're still recording.
What the students should be doing. She had some good ideas. I can't even just turn it.